This is part 7 of a 10-part series on why the Shohei Ohtani signing is bad for baseball. On the deferred salary, don't misunderstand. A player can defer his salary to whatever year he wants. However, in terms of the luxury tax, the salary should be, needs to be, applied evenly for the years that the player is contracted to the team. Think of it this way. Food stamps are accepted as a necessity for the many whose incomes are insufficient to meet their daily needs. However, you wouldn't want a Bill Gates in line at a supermarket using food stamps to pay for his groceries. And this hypothetical Bill Gates certainly shouldn't be using food stamps to buy a Ferrari, which is what the Dodgers are doing with Ohtani, despite having a partially paid for Corvette and a partially paid for BMW in the garage. A big market team already laden with a surfeit of stars and a decades-long winning record unmatched by any other team should not be allowed to strategize the luxury tax. They're the very ones for whom the luxury tax was put into effect. You want a Ferrari, you pay for a Ferrari, and the fully paid luxury tax is part of the cost. Mookie Betts mocks the criticism against the Dodgers and asks, "Do you want us to not try and win?" By that logic, suppose Barry Bonds were to ask, "Did you want me to not try and break the home run record?" Is he now exonerated? Let's go back even further to the year 1919. The Chicago White Sox, the dominant team of that era, complained that their owner was cheap and they were being grossly underpaid. A number of the players conspired with gamblers to throw the 1919 World Series to the underdog Cincinnati Reds. 8 of them were expelled from baseball. Suppose one of them had asked, "Do you want us to not be able to financially be compensated for our skills?" What if on a more personal level one of them asked, "Do you not want us to feed our families?" The situation Tampa Bay faced in the 2020 World Series should have been embarrassing enough for a game that purports to be a competitive team sport. Yet within half a decade, the payroll disparity between the Rays and the Dodgers has become greater. It portends the virtual elimination of one pesky, contending team from any real chance at winning their first World Series championship before the season even starts. Oh, sure, we have the story of David versus Goliath, but why has that story lasted several thousand years? Because it's so rare. Yet this is the contest that is taking place in Major League Baseball today, because one team is making a mockery of the competitive balance tax. And the sport is filled up with far too many Davids. What the Dodgers are doing is antagonistic to the concept of fair competition, unless the competitive balance tax was just a frivolous act and shouldn't have been passed to begin with. But if the CBT was proper and necessary, then the fact of the matter is this. The money that the Dodgers are dodging on the luxury tax does not belong to them. It belongs most appropriately to the smaller market teams whose financial limitations do not support beefed up rosters. It belongs to the Davids of the league. Hey Mookie, no one wants you to not try and win. They just don't think you should bring a semi-automatic into an arena where the majority of your opponents are fighting with a sword. If the Dodgers want to assemble the most dominant team possible through the artifice of deferred salaries, a tactic that enables them to mitigate the built-in risks and accompanying costs that the other teams have to contend with, The Dodgers should become a touring club like the Harlem Globetrotters. This Dodger collection of deferred salaries can then give exhibitions around the world, because a team assembled in their fashion does not belong in a competitive league where some semblance of parity is the ideal. If, however, the Dodgers organization wants to chance their skill and longevity while competing in a competitive league, then they can't evade the luxury tax by deferring salaries to the next decade. There is no time travel in baseball. Why should the Orioles, who have had to survive bad contracts and many long seasons of recovery, have to compete for a world championship against a team that procured their spot in the playoffs through millions and millions of deferred dollars? The same is true of Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, and even the big market Los Angeles Angels, a team that seems to abide by the rules and the spirit of the rules. But the Dodgers want to have their cake and eat it too. Get all the best free agents and sign them to deferred contracts that won't be due for another decade. The risk to this current team of Dodgers and its front office and its owners is like the risk to our environment. The great downside won't happen during our lifetime or those players' careers. The Dodgers have turned free agency into the equivalent of shopping for Rembrandts in a dollar store. How many purchases will the Dodgers make in this manner during the next 10 years? That ends the 7th blog. The 8th blog will continue to make the case that the deferred Dodger contracts need to be disallowed for the good of the game. Thank you.